Matt Lenihan Boxing Social in association with Empire Fight Store. As I say, delighted to be
Uh,
joined by Fabio Wardley. I'm just going to give you a really good intro, but you've started taking the piss off camera. Why are you laughing?
Mate, this is distracting. If people could see what I could see, it's distracting.
Just for clarity,
Uh,
I've got a headset on, and that's it.
yeah,
There's
but
nothing new.
this doesn't feel like normal anymore. I feel like either I'm doing a Zoom interview with someone, or you feel like BT tech support and you're helping me fix my router or something. Like I don't know what's going
You know what? I
on.
try and do my best, and get the audio bang on, but I won't bother in future. No problem. Um, look,
Class.
aside from all the fun and games, big news, not just in relation to your fight finally being announced, but promotional status as well. I know you sort of been doing the whole free agent scene, and it's worked really well for you. You've sort of bounced as and where you needed to, but you've penned a deal with Frank Warren. Let's start there. Frank Warren seems to have the heavyweight scene on lock. So I suppose quite an obvious thing to maybe do, but just give us your reasons. You've worked on Frank's shows with Frank before. What's what's the reasoning, bud?
Yeah, look, I've worked with all the promoters, all the UK promoters in the game, or mostly, and I tried everyone out for size and see how I felt and see where I wanted to fit. And just at this point in my career where I was, I felt like Frank was the best fit. We worked with them. I enjoyed it. I had some really good after that fight. Initially, I had some really good sit downs, some chats with Frank and with George as well. And we got on really well, to be honest. And going forward and looking at my career and planning a route and mapping it all out. Obviously, you're going to be in safe hands with Frank as the way he manages heavyweights. He's
Yeah,
got the majority of the UK stable of heavyweights, so you're in safe hands over there. But also moving into where I want to be in my career over the next kind of year or so, being in pole position to fight for a world title. We know obviously at the end of the year there's going to be the rematch. So post that, there's going to be then belts will fragment and they'll go in different places. And I want to be in pole position to either be fighting for a world title, be challenging for one, or eliminator, something like that. Be well in the mix for that. And I think Frank's the man to put me in that place.
just about to touch. Being a free agent has its advantages. We see a lot of fighters do it over the years, and you've certainly sort of reaped the benefits of it, and you've almost cut out that sort of before the Saudis came, even that politicking kind of thing where you've gone where what suited you. But to get that sort of push and to make sure you do get these big opportunities you mentioned there, like pushing for a world title shot once these belts fragment, was that it for you because of the sort of the seriousness and now when it's coming to really is coming to the serious business now in your career, was that why it was time to sort of pen in with someone and put the signature on the dotted line so that you could definitely get these things secured?
Yeah, 1,000%. You like, don't get me wrong. You can do as well as you want in the ring and be beating everyone and all of that, but you also need to put yourself in the right position. You need someone to be behind you, kind of in your corner, pushing you in the right directions and knocking on the doors of the right people and promoting you basically and saying, no, we want our fighter to be in this position. We think our fighter should be for this fight. We think
Mm-hmm.
our fighter should be for this title. So it makes sense to kind of pick someone who you think you align best with and situate yourself in that position. And that's just what I've done. It was just a timing thing, really. And like I say, I worked with them once before, liked it, so was keen to get things going again.
Was the offers on the table? I can imagine, obviously, with the status that you've got now, you must have had everyone sort of trying to usher you their way, especially with the landscape of the division.
Yeah, there was offers, sorry, in different directions and things, but it was just where I felt best suited, and also they didn't fit me as best as I wanted. As well, like being in a although I'm in a promotional contract, there's certain levels of freedom I want within that. I've always wanted to be heavily in control of my own career, and certain allowances I've been able to want to have. That was the whole reason that pushed me to be an independent in the first place. So I wanted to maintain certain freedoms, and it just fit the best being with Frank and Queensberry.
Well, look at the actual fight that's been put on. You've got the rematch. You both seemingly straight after that wanted to jump straight back into it. Obviously, you sort of, I suppose, held all the cards in that respect because obviously you retained your titles. So I think the options probably for you, maybe it allowed you to look and say, well, if it isn't going to be him, where can I go, kind of thing? Can I get to the cusp of the former world title challengers, and you're there within one or two fights, kind of thing, or the next fight down the line. But pleased that we're sort of just picking up where we left off, and we're going into this fight knowing that the first one was, probably the best British title fight anyone has ever seen, and it's going to be good for the fans as well.
Yeah, look, that was the main thing is getting the fight done and ticked off. And like I think me and Fraser both can agree that we've got some unfinished business there. So just picking the fight off straight from where we left, really. Not too much fussing on and mixing around in the middle. There were other options. We did have a brief look at other avenues and other routes, but nothing too heavy or concrete, really. We felt like this is going to be the
Yeah.
one, and me as well. Like I didn't really want to move on without closing that kind of chapter, ticking this bit off in my
Yeah.
career because I'd like there'd always be someone in your ear saying either I ducked him or I dodged him or I didn't want it, and I was like, you know what, I can't even bother for any of those conversations. Let's just get this one done. We'll tick this off and then we'll move on. I don't want to hear any of that. So
You're
yeah,
gonna
look,
get
we got
that.
it done.
You're gonna get that anyway. Every boxer. I mean, you've got everyone saying Canelo's ducking someone. You've got people saying he's ducking someone. You'll realize I'm sure you know now, kind of thing. Even though you were trying to make the rematch, people say, "Oh, he didn't want the Frazer fight," and people were saying, likewise to him. Nature of it.
Yeah, literally. To be fair, yeah, like even in the over the last few months and that, I've had like messages on my Twitter saying you're ducking Fraser, when are you gonna fight? I'm like, mate, I'm literally in the middle of negotiating the deal. Calm down. Like it's coming. Relax. Chill out.
In,
Just wants it like now.
in terms of the fight, obviously, I know you'll have looked back and reflected on your performance. You'll have taken obviously the good with the good, and and what didn't go so well, kind of thing for you. One thing you'll sort of both be able to take away is obviously you know you can hurt him. You had him down in the fight, and he had you obviously seeping with blood, and you both sort of came together, and it did end up as a stalemate. Do you know now in this rematch, is it quite clear in your head with the guidance of obviously your trainers what you have to do to get over the line?
Yeah, look, that wasn't one of my best performances, like boxing wise. Obviously, I know entertainment factor, entertainment value, and everything. Everyone loved that. Great, cool. But as a boxer, looking back at it, no, it wasn't. It wasn't an ideal performance. There was a lot of mistakes made there. But even with them mistakes, however it went, I still won the fight, or at least I felt I won the fight. I still got him down. I still hurt him a number of times. So there's a lot of big pluses in there, even though I maybe performed a 6 out of 10, whatever, something like
Mm-hmm.
that. And then from him, he fought the best fight you've ever seen him fight. Like so,
Mm-hmm.
and him fighting his best, and me not being up to par, and still coming out with a draw, or at least me thinking that I won. Then there's only up to go from there. Really, I'm just going to be in better shape. I'm going to perform better. We've gone over it 100 times over with a fine tooth comb. So we know where the improvements need to be made, and we're doing those now in camp.
Obviously, being in camp, sort of yourself down there with obviously your long-term trainer, but with Ben as well, that environment that you've put yourself in, likes of obviously Ben's obviously with Moses Atauma, he's got Joshua down there. You're in a really good place. Does that sort of give you confidence knowing that obviously you can do everything right, but you have the right team surrounding you that are preparing you, that they experienced the first fight as well, and they can give you that edge going into this fight?
Yeah, like being around the right people is always crucial. Having the right team behind you and having that right analysis of the fight afterwards as well, and sitting down as a team and going, right, these are the areas that you need to improve on, and also like if there's areas like you're not confused or stuck on, but like if there's anything you would kind of feel there's someone to your left or to your right to speak to that's gone through it, done it, ticked it off one way or the other, whether it be AJ or the
Mm-hmm.
likes of like Lee Wood or whoever else in that gym who's experienced and been done and gone through big fights. So you've got everyone there kind of encouraging you, jeering you on, wanting you to kind of kick on and do better. So yeah, we're all pushing each other.
Do you stop him in this rematch?
Yeah. Yeah.
No,
Look, I I hurt him a number of times in the last fight and got him down as well. So it can be done. It's perfectly within my capabilities to do that. There was just a few tweaks I needed to make. He got quite lucky by it being literally bang on the at the end of the fifth round.
mm,
Like I think you've seen with all of my fights that once I have you hurt and I've got a bit of time to work with, I'll get you out of there. I'll stay in front of you. So yeah, if I had maybe another 30 seconds, 45, whatever, it would have been
mhm.
a different story. So it's perfectly within my capabilities to do. He'll know that. I know that going into the fight. So it's just about setting it up properly and finishing the job properly as well.
Yeah. You always say you're on a huge card, better behave Bivol. I mean, that fight, I think if you've asked most fans at the start of the year, they'd have wanted to see that fight. We are going to see it. And like to be on the card of like such magnitude, you've been on them before kind of thing now. So I know it's nothing really, maybe as new, you're used to all the cameras and stuff, but you've come a long way, haven't you, since the white collar days when you first started? Do you ever look and just go, like, wow, I know that gets referenced, but in terms of the journey, it's mad. It's a mad one, really, isn't it?
Yeah, it has been a bit of a mad ride. Yeah, I do allow myself them little moments of reflection of like, oh yeah, look at you. You're not doing half bad, are you, mate? You've
Oh,
you've
I
done
bet
some
you
things.
do. Oh, I
There's
bet you
some
do.
things, yeah, but I don't sit in it for too long because I think that it can mess you up if you sit there and think, oh, I'm the big I am. I've done all this. Look at me. I've headlined shows.
Mm.
I've chief supported massive shows. I'm this. I'm that. And ultimately as well, my close friends, my family, and my team, they also don't let me sit in that for too long either. Like they're like, yeah, great, like you headlined the show, but mine like, can you take the bins out, please, mate? So
Yeah,
just
move on,
crack
mate.
on. I don't, Mr. O2, can you the bins need taken out? Go on, off you go. Like no one lets me really sit in that too much, so it's good. I've got the right people around me
Yeah.
to keep me grounded as well.
Well, Mr. O2, can we just ask for a few predictions of certain fights that are coming up outside of obviously your huge event that's coming up in October? Stablemate now as well. Anthony Joshua goes against Daniel Dubois. I think when you look at where both have come from, AJ with obviously the turbulence, but he seems settled now under Ben, producing some great performances. Daniel, the amount of criticism he's had, a lot of people thought he had the Usyk fight in the bag. Knockdown, was it a knockdown? Miller, Hergovic, think he was fair to say he was an underdog probably in both, and he's pulled it out of the bag. But feeling I know who you're going to say, but excited for the fight, just in terms of what a spectacle it's going to be.
Yeah, look, massive stadium fights like that, Wembley, 80,000 people, was always something to be excited about, especially when it's two British heavyweights fighting for a world title. Like that's a big thing to get behind. But it's going to be a massive night. One I'm excited for, but I would edge it to AJ. That's where I'd put my money. It's still, don't get me wrong, that's not to say to write off Daniel at all and say he can't
No,
pull it off or it can't be done. That's just where I'd edge myself as it stands at the moment. I think there's a certain level to say and to go into a fight of this magnitude in the UK on UK soil in the home ground, kind of to to be like cool and calm, collected under those kind of pressures and in those kind of environments. And don't get me wrong, Daniel's had some big fights himself, but I think it's slightly different being in the UK, being in front of UK fans and things, and you hear the roar of the crowd and things like that, and it might be, it might feel a bit different in the ring on the night when certain moments happen. I just think maybe AJ will be a little bit more composed in those times because he's been seen and done it all.
just touch on that there mentally. You'll know yourself as a fighter. You've been on the ones with the big bills. You've also been on the ones where you maybe mid card, lower down. Maybe you know yourself, like where stadiums maybe not as full. You're there, you do your job. How do the nerves compare when, for instance, you're there headlining at the O2? You've got a big fight in Saudi. How do they compare? How much does the mindset really play a part in that? You can do all the training you want, but the feelings you get walking to the ring, how much is that like a skill to master, kind of like dealing with all that?
Yeah, it is. That is the thing. It is a skill. And but the only way you do it, like any other skill, is repetition, is doing it over time. And that's the point I'm making. Really, is that AJ has more reps of doing that. because for any and all fighters, we all get that kind of build up towards the big occasion, the big moment, and it's just about how, as a fighter, you manage it in yourself and deal with it, and how you compose yourself from fight week all the way through to the ring walk to being in the ring and on the night. So you only learn that skill through reps.
Yeah.
And AJ's just got a lot more of those in. So I feel like
Yeah.
he will settle into the fight much quicker and be able to get his more, because you do your best as a fighter when you're comfortable in the ring as well, when you're settled, you're not reactive, you're not all antsy and worked up, you're just chilled
Mm-hmm.
and going about your business. So yeah, I think he'll settle in and get the job done.
Last one from me. Got to ask you about Usyk-Fury, the rematch coming up in December. As we always do, we get a lot of predictions off you guys. You saw how the first fight went. I think we actually caught up straight after. I know you were trying to run off, but I managed to get you.
Yeah.
Neela. What do you make of it? Obviously, Tyson, I've just been watching some of the highlights back, just from my own sort of like recollection of it. It's different side at ringside, and I scored some of the rounds different. Fury had a lot more success than it sort of looked like for me ringside. That's only my interpretation. Some of the
Mm.
shots that I didn't see landing clearly landed, but ultimately Usyk got the job done. What do you think happens in this rematch? How do you sort of assess it?
I think it's a lot of the same, to be honest. I do think it's a lot of the same. I think Usyk will go into the fight like any mindset, like he has done with all of his fights, that just narrow focus, just straight on target, on point, not missing a beat, not missing a step. Maybe maybe Fury will say that, like, kind of maybe his camp wasn't ideal, or he wasn't in the best place or the best shape, or whichever else. Who knows? He hasn't. I'm not saying that because he hasn't come out with any excuses like that since. But maybe in himself he'll think, oh, that camp wasn't great, or I did some things wrong, or because us as fighters, again, we know when you don't do things right in camp. You know when you miss a few sessions, or you've taken it easy on some sessions and things like that. So maybe the loss was what he needed to go right, full 100% back in, and maybe he comes out differently. But if I was to put my money on it, I'd say it goes pretty much the same way.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting either way. Look, we look forward to seeing you back in another huge fight. Mr. O2 now going to Mr. Saudi, becoming Mr. Saudi. Staying humble, bro. I like that.
Always.
Look, we'll catch up soon. Wish you well, and yeah, we'll see you out there, and we'll probably speak before anyway. But I appreciate you jumping on.
Sounds good, mate. Catch you in a bit.
Thank you.